when will we learn our lesson
Mm-hmm.
that, like, let's not pollute and ruin everything we touch?
Yeah.
Right. And you're seeing this right now with the discussion and refusal to acknowledge the reality of climate change, right? Where half this country is like, that's not real.
Perhaps I could use this as an excuse to go to those far-off planets with little polka-dotted people if necessary, and be able to talk about love, war, nature, God, sex, all those things that go to make up the excitement of the human condition.
I'm Captain James Kirk.
Spock.
Your move, Captain. Jim Kirk of the Enterprise.
What's going on?
I'm James Kirk. These people are my friend and my shipmate. Leave my crew alone.
Out of the question.
How about that?
James Kirk.
It fits like a glove, Captain.
Oh, the bonehead ideas.
Gentlemen, I'm Captain James Kirk. Get out of my chair. Get out of it now.
My greetings and felicitations, Captain. So good of you and your officers to, drop in. Absolutely smashing.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Humanist Trek. It's a Star Trek podcast about the humanism in Star Trek. I'm Sarah Ray.
And I'm Allie Ashmead.
And welcome to another episode. Thanks for sticking with us and going on this journey. We sure do appreciate you being here. What's going on in Allie Land? What's new?
Since we last talked, I found a home for my fishies.
Yay!
I'm so thankful. I found a wonderful guy, a fish rescue company or whatever. There's a guy in town who rescues large fish and koi.
Wow.
And
what are the odds that you're going to find that here? Like,
so I'm not religious, but his name was Angel.
Okay.
And he was an absolute
Angel,
wonderful human being. He came over, took all of the fish, drained my ponds, both of them, took all of the equipment that I have because I don't have a use for it anymore.
Wow. He
fixed my electrical issues that I had outside. I thought I had blew something, but he fixed it.
Really? That's awesome.
Then I was explaining to him, my backyard's a mess. It's a bunch of bullshit that, the previous owners did. And he's like, I also do landscaping. I'm like, are you kidding me? He gave me an estimate for coming back and cleaning out, like removing trees, removing the old deck, because I've got a deck back there, and just removing all of the stuff and clearing it out and filling it with dirt. Because now I've got two very large ponds that were now empty. And so he's going to do all that for me. And he's like, once you have everything cleared out, then you kind of will know what you want to do, because it's hard to
you got to see the
envision
space.
Yep. Yeah, it's hard to envision. So I'm like, oh my God, thank you. So he's been an angel.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I'm really happy. I didn't realize how much I worried about those fish. And when I'm sitting at home and they're out in the back, and I worry, I'm like, I'm not taking care of them. But now that they're gone, I'm just like,
yeah, it's a relief. Yeah. Awesome.
So they have a home.
We had something similar. We got our fence put in recently, and same idea with like having to be able to see the space. Like there was a post out in the corner that you could see where the property line was, but without having the fence up,
you still don't know.
You don't. It's hard to imagine.
Yeah.
So we still have to do all of that landscaping too. And according to the HOA, we have 9 months to get it done.
Oh, that's all right.
We'll see. HOAs suck. HOAs are like one of the worst inventions.
I agree.
In the modern era.
Yeah. We're going to tell you how you need to keep your property.
Right.
Or how it looks. Yeah.
Yeah. As a concept, I think it makes sense. Like homeowners come together to make an agreement of like, this is what we want our neighborhood to be like.
Yes.
But then we get a third party company involved. And then when in Florida, we had an HOA at our last neighborhood, and same thing happened here. We got a letter. I think Becca may have talked about this. We got a letter that like, oh, you need to move your garbage cans, can't be visible from the street.
Yeah.
Okay.
Typical. Yeah.
Item number 1. Who the fuck cares whether you can see my garbage cans or not? Nobody fucking cares.
Everybody has garbage. What else are you going to do with it?
Yeah. Nobody fucking cares. So,
yeah.
Like at least, I don't know, this one might be, but at least the one in Florida, you know, some of them will like come by and put a fucking measuring stick in your grass to see if you need, you know, how tall it is or whatever. Oh, it's a quarter of an inch too tall. Time to mow your yard. Like at least we didn't have that. But this trash can's visible from, and it's dumb because we're in a construction neighborhood still. Like it's new construction.
It's all a mess.
Giant red construction dumpsters
right
next to my garbage cans.
How dare
and
they?
You're worried
right now.
about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. But like, so what happened in Florida is we went to the HOA meeting and we're like, hey, Becca went and was like, this is dumb. Like, there are a lot of things in here that are dumb because what happens is builders will just pick a company off the shelf and stick it in.
Yep.
And there's not really homeowners making decisions of what covenant agreements they want to make or not.
Yeah.
Right? The HOA company is making that decision. So it's not an organization of homeowners making decisions about their neighborhood. It's a company. So she goes to this meeting and she's like, these rules are dumb. Let's, you know, what do we need to do to change them? And they were basically like, because so many people in the neighborhood are delinquent, you don't have enough homeowners to put together a quorum if you wanted to vote to change a rule.
What do you mean delinquent?
I don't know.
Okay.
I didn't go to the meeting. It was, because like they were behind on like HOA dues or something.
Huh.
I don't know the whole story, but yeah, they were like, you don't have enough homeowners to get together to make that call.
Yeah. Wow.
Like how does that make any damn sense? I don't know. Where I grew up, you owned your land, and the city was the one that if you were in violation of city codes,
right,
which said things like you can't have cars stacked up on blocks out in the front yard and you can't let your grass grow too tall. It was the city that enforced that.
Right. Yeah, I think we lived in a neighborhood that for like 17 years that had an HOA, and I swore never again.
Mm-hmm.
I got so many letters. My grass, okay, there's brown spots in my grass or this, and I'm like, fuck off. And after we left there, I will never do an HOA again.
Yeah.
If I can help it.
Right. If we have the choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things at our first house in Florida, they were like, because they'd planted this dumb oak tree or whatever it was out in the front yard, and there were fucking nuts everywhere. I hated that tree so much. We finally cut it down. But because it was what it was, there was no grass underneath of it. And so we'd get letters for that all the time. Like, oh, you need to sod around the tree or whatever. I'm like, I'm not going to.
Nature, you can't.
It's going to die anyway. Right. Again, like, I'm not going to waste that money. I don't have that money.
Right.
So let's start with that.
Right.
I can barely afford the house.
I mean, let nature do what it's going to do, you know?
Yep.
So.
Well, here we're hoping on talking them into, because they haven't finished us out yet. We still have landscaping to be done by the builder, who I heard from today, and we're hoping to get them to let us do rock in the front instead of grass.
Yeah.
Which, we won't have that much to mow, but everything's a drought out here. We shouldn't be wasting water on that.
And, you know, in this area, or in Colorado in general, they are all for xeriscaping. So I can't imagine that they would give you any pushback.
Yeah.
But
you know who they have to go through to determine whether we can do that or not? The fucking HOA.
Oh, God.
Also, I wanted to mention briefly, it's 48 degrees.
Woo!
Fall is here.
I fucking love it. As from someone who does not have AC, I have a swamp cooler. Yes, I'm in heaven.
We have had the windows open for weeks.
Yeah.
And it's so great. I almost flashed back into my radio days there with it's 48 degrees at 4:48 weather on the ones. News Talk 1340 WSOY weather on the ones. Yeah, good times.
Awesome. Yeah, my cats are hating it because they're cold and they want me to hold them, and I'm like, no. And I'm loving it. So
yeah, this is great.
I'm not turning the heat on until I absolutely have to.
Yep. It's like cute sweater weather. You can't do this in Florida. You can't do cute fall, like you can't. It's just miserable. And people do it. And I'm like, it's still 90 degrees. What are you doing?
You look silly. Yeah, but it's amazing here. And it's cozy and the leaves are turning and
it's so beautiful. We went for a drive and
we need to go hiking. It's time for a hike.
Yep, I agree. All right, well, let's get to the episode that we came to talk about today. It is Star Trek, the original series, Season 1, Episode 5, The Naked Time.
Sir, contact with an object. It's moving toward us. No visual contact yet.
Deflectors, full intensity.
Mr. Sulu, yes, Captain. Anything on your scanners?
It's coming at light speed. Collision course. Visual contact.
Anything, over?
All wavelengths dominated by ionization effects, sir.
All engines full stop.
Well, speaking of cold weather, the Enterprise is orbiting Psi 2000, a frozen planet. There you go.
Man.
Look at that. Yeah. So this planet is about to expire, and there's a group of scientists on the planet. We have to pick them up, and then we'll be observing the death of this planet.
Yes.
So kind of a
from
twofold mission.
Yeah.
Then we cut inside this science outpost and find what appears to be a dead frozen scientist.
Oh my God! They've killed
Station personnel.
you, bastards!
Sitting at a desk.
Yeah, I thought the set design was really cool.
Yeah, it was all right.
Like, it looked like blown insulation almost, or something like that they just, like, I thought that was really cool.
Yep.
If you're to make something look like the environmental controls have gone out, obviously, and inside the outpost, everybody's frozen.
Yep.
Spock and a UC,
Tourmaline,
who we find later is Tourmaline, yeah. They beam in, and they're wearing these ridiculous-looking environmental suits.
Yes. I think we have the same note. Let's talk about their, to me, I don't know what you think it looks like, but to me it looks like some kind of bubble wrap. So like a red bubble wrap.
Yep.
Hazmat suits. It is the worst.
I saw somebody on Twitter shared an image of it and said that it was shower curtains.
Huh. Was it actually?
I didn't look it up.
Huh. I could see that. It was.
Yeah. Real special. Like, and they made no effort to make these suits look like they were closed off to the elements in any way. Like, it was loose sleeves and
not at
baggy
all.
This and that, and like,
and the helmet was just sitting on their head.
Yeah.
You could put your hand underneath it.
Yes.
Like, that's not protection.
No.
But yeah.
So Spock sends Tourmaline to check out life support. It's offline. And then Spock finds another frozen scientist, but not just frozen. She's also been strangled.
Oh my God! They've killed
Station personnel.
you, bastards!
Look, now this was a total department store mannequin. That was like,
was it really?
Did you not see that?
I didn't notice it.
I watched it twice. I'm like, that's a mannequin. It looks like one of those department store mannequins they put the wig on, and she's just laying there in the snow. But yeah,
I missed that. Good catch.
Mannequin.
That's funny. And then the UC reports, or Tourmaline reports, there's another 4 dead in the back.
Oh my God! They've killed
All station personnel.
you, bastards!
So the bodies are stacking up. There's something strange going on here. One of the men was taking a shower fully clothed, they said.
Yeah. And I thought it was interesting that they didn't show anybody else. They only showed that one part of the science station. They didn't show there was a scientist in the shower with his clothes on.
We didn't see that.
There was apparently another scientist with a phaser inside. Apparently, they didn't show anything inside.
Which is strange because apparently we're using department store mannequins to avoid paying people. Yeah.
Budget, I guess.
Yeah.
So he tells Spock to go look for himself.
Yep.
And then while Spock is gone, Tourmaline goes over to the dead scientist at the desk and he takes out some instrument, I guess, to do some kind of scan. But then Tourmaline, being the genius that he is, he takes off his fucking glove and reaches under his hazmat suit helmet.
He goes scratch his
nose and then blow on his hand, I guess, to keep warm. Mm-hmm. And he starts playing with the instrument, whatever scanner instrument that he's got, and he bends down under the desk with his bare hands, be touching everything.
If we're in an ice planet that's frozen people to death, wouldn't you have thought he would have been like, sell me on how cold you are?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so he puts his bare hand on the side of the desk and this red liquid drops onto his hand. And I know they probably filmed it to where, you know how you film it and it upside down, and then they flip it.
Yep.
So it looks like the liquid was traveling, but it's really just, it was gravity.
Right.
Anyway.
It did. It looked like it jumped across the thing, though.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So it jumps across to his hand. So, okay, he's contaminated now. And then he gets up. He, again, puts his hand underneath his hazmat mask, blows on his hand, and then he puts his glove back on. Now, this is the theme, I think, for this show. This is how COVID starts.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Like, somebody thinks they're being safe.
Yep.
And they don't wear their protective gear correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just be touching everything.
This is why OSHA is at your workplace every 6 months, making you do these trainings.
Yeah.
So that you don't do dumb shit like this.
Yeah. You cannot depend on a human to do what they're supposed to do. But yeah, I swear.
Well, the best part of this for me was then Spock comes back in and he's like, hey, make sure you don't expose yourself to anything.
Oh.
Like, whoops, too late.
and Tourmaline doesn't say shit.
Nope.
So, yeah.
Spock radios up to the Enterprise. Everybody's dead here. Cause unknown. It's like nothing we've ever dealt with before. And we get Spock eyes to feed. Back on the Enterprise, Scotty and another guy. Here we are again. Now there's 2 people operating the transporter again instead of just one.
Yeah.
They beam Spock and Joe Tourmaline. Now he has the name.
Mm-hmm.
And they beam them back and run them through some like flashy light decontamination thing, which I don't think we ever really see ever again. Kirk orders them to go to medical. McCoy clears them after being racist about Spock's green blood again.
Always.
He can't.
He cannot not say anything about his green blood. He says Spock's pulse is 242 beats a minute, or like, that's pretty fast, you know?
Yeah.
And then, so his pulse is 242 and his blood pressure is non-existent. He's like assuming that green stuff in your blood is blood. I'm like, he's such a racist.
Such a racist.
Yeah.
Joe clears the exam, but now he's like rubbing at his arm like an addict in detox. Like,
it's like freaking, he's rubbing at his arm and keeps looking at his hand like he's got some invisible schmutz on it.
Right. Like trying to wipe his hands off.
Right.
Yep. And he is expectedly like shaken up by all of this, what he's just witnessed. And he kind of talks a little bit about like, you know, hey, maybe we shouldn't be out here.
Yeah.
Like maybe humans should just not be out here.
Yeah.
Majel's back.
Yeah. Look who it is. Majel / number 1 / Nurse Chapel / the ship computer, the Enterprise computer. She's just going to find her way back into that show. But I think she looks beautiful. She looks great she's got like, is that platinum blonde?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay, I didn't know. It looks like gray hair, but I guess that's platinum blonde. But she looks great.
Yeah. Down in the conference room, Spock, Kirk, McCoy, Scotty, and Rand are all reviewing some data that the away team took. And they rule out drugs, intoxication, and contamination. Could what have happened on the planet in some way affect the Enterprise crew's ability to finish their mission observing this planet's destruction? So now we're trying to figure out, is this thing a threat? We get the first bits here of what eventually becomes a big part of Scotty's character. He's like, as long as you bridge people don't start showering with your clothes on, my engines can pull us out of anything. Right? So this overconfidence in his engineering ability in his ship. Uhura radios down. The planet's mass and magnetic field are changing, so the death of the planet starts.
It's imminent.
In the rec room, Tourmaline pops a 3.5-inch floppy disk into the replicator. And when he sits down with his tray of food, he's like looking at his hand again, like where the red goo had got him.
Oh, but
trying to wipe it off.
But you know, Star Trek, every time he looks at I'm going to call it the invisible schmutz on his hand, they do that rattlesnake like sound effect. It's so as if it's supposed to be menacing. I mean that's my impression.
That's what it sounds like.
But it's like supposed to be menacing and after like the second time, every time they do it, I'm just laughing at this point.
Sulu walks in talking to a coworker about fencing.
His name is crewman Kevin Riley.
Riley, yep.
So they're arguing about fencing, and Riley's talking about how Sulu is always trying to get him into something. Like last week it was botany, and this week it's fencing.
Sulu is that guy at the office.
He's great,
that,
though.
Every time he gets into something, he tries to evangelize.
But that's he's so positive and so much fun. Sulu says, fencing tones the muscle and sharpens the eye. It's good for you. And he looks at, they go and they sit down with Tourmaline, and he's like, right, Joey? And Joey is preoccupied with his hand. And then Sulu reaches out to touch Joey to see, right, Joey?
Yep.
And he's like, get off me, man. He goes off on him, and he's like,
he does some racist shit here too,
yeah,
though. You don't,
a bit racist.
You don't rake me, and you don't have pointed ears. So just get off my neck.
So Sulu's like, what's with him? You know?
Uhura radios down, and she's calling all on-duty staff to stations. And Sulu's like, well, we got to go, pal. Are you going to be all right?
Yeah.
And Joe starts in about how we're hypocrites. Again, like this, why are we out here in space? What good are we doing? He says we're polluting it, destroying it.
Yep.
He grabs a table knife, and while he's evil monologuing about how humans aren't meant to be in space, we notice it's got some red paint on the handle, and he turns the knife around like he's going to stab himself with it.
Right.
And then Sulu and Riley try to wrestle the knife away, but they all kind of fall down to the ground. And I couldn't tell here, was it supposed to look like that he fell on the knife?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was very hard for me to determine and then, because then he gets up and he
gets up. Everybody's covered with it looks like strawberry jam.
Yeah, it was not very effective blood.
It's blood.
Yeah. Okay.
Space blood. But yeah, so now everybody's got Tourmaline's blood on him. Riley goes up and radios a medic, and of course, suddenly his hand starts. Then they start the rattlesnake again, and fucking Riley's looking at his hand now because he's now got the invisible schmutz on his hand.
Yep. We need a fun name for this.
I think invisible schmutz.
Invisible schmutz.
Schmutz.
It's going to be hard for me to
say. Schmutz. Yeah, it's. I have a little bit of a lisp too, so it's kind of hard for me to say. So that'll be fun. Invisible schmutz.
Captain's log. This death of a planet thing is getting critical now, but now we've got some unknown disease on the ship. And on the bridge, Riley's at navigation, rubbing his hands on his pants now, and Sulu's rubbing his fingers together.
Yep.
Again, more rattlesnake cue
the
sound.
Rattlesnake.
And Spock and Kirk are talking about Tourmaline's records. What could have caused him to try and kill himself like that, even if he was trying to kill himself?
He was basically in the throes of self-torture, and they said, or Spock said, his capacity for self-doubt has always been rather high, but what threw it over the edge? What brought it to the surface?
So down in sickbay, McCoy and Chapel are performing surgery on Tourmaline, essentially just going through one sci-fi prop after another.
Yeah, one looks like a blowtorch.
Yeah, they just went down to the 5 and dime and picked up whatever they could afford.
He's got a blowtorch doing surgery on a knife wound.
Oh, was that meant to look like it was sealing it up? Maybe it was because they don't stitch, right? Is that
I don't
sealing the wound? I don't know.
Well, he died.
Well, he's not dead yet, though. His respiratory rate's going down, and they put him on a respirator. And I thought this was a fun little prop because you know how you put the mask over your face to do the oxygen or the thing up your nose, but it's a tube hooked to something.
Yeah,
this one didn't have. It was just a little thing that sat over.
Yep, and
over your mouth and nose.
A little metal tail at the end with nothing. So
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's
I thought that was cool.
Space
Again,
magic
stuff we don't see again. I don't think, but I thought it was a neat approach.
Yep.
Meanwhile, back up on the bridge, an alert goes off. Gravitational pull from the planet is changing wildly again, and Kirk orders them to compensate, but Riley just kind of sits there tweaking, rubbing his hands. So Kirk...
He's rubbing one out, and he's
So Kirk reaches down and flips the switch, and they're back on track.
Yeah, he's like,
it's all good.
I'll do it. Like, I thought I told you to compensate because he's just not even there.
No, there was a moment here, too, so Kirk kind of leans over to flip the switch on the thing, and their hands are close. There wasn't a rattlesnake.
Okay, that's true.
So I was trying to figure out, like, are we meant to think that Kirk has the
schmutz?
The schmutz?
He's got the schmutz. I don't think he got it then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tormolen's respiratory functions are still dropping. McCoy hits him with a hypo spray, and his pulse stops completely.
Oh my God! They've killed
Joey.
You bastards!
And Chapel gets to say it this time. Chapel says he's dead, doctor.
What a shit doctor. No, he should not have died. As McCoy says, his injuries weren't that serious. He's very puzzled at why he died.
McCoy calls for Kirk to come down to sickbay, and then we get some banter between Sulu and Riley. Sulu says he's sweating like a bridegroom.
Sulu is just so much fun. He's just a delight. He's such a delight on this show. So Sulu decides, and he's Sulu's also very mischievous. So he's like, I'm going to sneak away to the gym and take the edge off.
I'm going to go rub one off. I'll be right back. No, wait. Come with me. Oh, God.
It wasn't this funny when I watched it.
No,
but it's hilarious now that we're talking about it. But yeah, so he tries to say to convince Riley to come with him. Riley is actually concerned about being in trouble. He's like, no, So Sulu's off. He's out.
Yeah, and how he sneaks off the bridge without Spock noticing?
Right.
That was a special trick.
Yeah.
So McCoy's giving his report to Kirk. He doesn't understand why Tormolen died. His wound wasn't that severe. He says he's dead because he just gave up. And Kirk's like, that's not science, doctor.
Yeah.
Now, it may not be scientifically valid, but you have probably seen that. Like when someone is real old, near death.
Or really sick and just tired of fighting.
Seems like they can just say, nope, I'm done now.
Yeah. I think it's possible.
So I think there's got to be something to that. I don't know.
I do. I think it is.
Kirk and McCoy are trying to figure out if Tormolen's death is related to him being down on the planet and like what happened to all of those people down there. On the bridge, Spock finally turns around and he's like, oh shit, we're off the road. The Enterprise is driving through a field somewhere.
He's like, where's Sulu's not at his station? And because Sulu is part of the team to compensate against the magnetic shift.
He said, Jesus, take the wheel. And he went down to the bridge and the car is driving all over the road.
So Rand, there's a Rand, not
male
Janice.
Rand.
Yeah, not Janice Rand, but some male crewman named Rand.
I wonder if they're related.
I don't know. Well, not husband and wife for sure.
Right.
But brother. Who knows? Who knows? Rand takes over. He asks Riley for an explanation, and Riley starts ranting about being an Irishman, and he's being like, a super cheerful Irishman. And so Spock has Uhura take over, and he sends Riley to sickbay.
We get some great sexism here, too, though. Riley says, now that's what I like. Let the women work.
Oh, like as if whatever she was doing over there wasn't work.
Right.
I swear. Oh, it gets better, though, with his sexism.
Mm-hmm.
So he's roaming the halls like he's drunk, and he gets to sickbay, and what does he do? He puts the moves on Nurse Chapel.
As he goes into sickbay, I don't know if you noticed this or not, he blew on the door like Whoopi Goldberg and Karina blowing on the traffic lights, He's swaggering down the hallway and he gets up to the door and he goes, and the door opens.
I didn't notice that. Oh my God. That's hilarious. Karina is one of my favorite movies, by the way.
I love that movie. Such a good movie. And then if you scrub to 1926 on the time scale, you will see some very not futuristic spray bottles.
I did see that too. There was 3 of them with some red liquid, and I'm like, what is that? I didn't write it down, but I do remember that.
I have to say,
and I figured, I'm like, Sarah's going to say something.
As a former custodial manager, I was a custodial manager at Disney in a few different areas. The fact that they have spray bottles without labels just sitting out just makes, like, that's a huge fucking problem. Where the fuck is OSHA? They're not here for any of this shit.
Oh, no, they're just violations all over the place. Well, they're touching everything.
Yeah.
Not washing their hands. This is how COVID happened.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. You wear your gloves. You label your spray bottles. You don't mix your chemicals. These are the basics.
Yeah. Yeah. And then when you're dealing with a pandemic, you don't touch your face. You don't touch other people's faces.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Anyway, Riley asks Chapel where Joe is, and that's when he learns that he's dead. And so then he puts his hand under Chapel's chin and tells her she has lovely eyes.
Yeah.
And we get the rattlesnake sound of disease.
Yeah. And now she's got the schmutz.
Riley said Joe's mistake was that he wasn't born an Irishman. And I don't understand what the purpose of that is, other than just that's what they chose.
I don't know. Delusions of grandeur. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know.
And on his way out, Riley's leaving sickbay. He does that thing that we all did as kids at the supermarket now this time. Like, when you walked up to the supermarket sliding doors and like used the force to make the doors open. He does that on the way out.
He's just a big child, He's playful, but kind of a big child.
And then Chapel starts rubbing her chin and hands like an addict now. So she's got the schmutz.
Yeah.
Then we get a really like classic Star Trek scene. This is another one of those, like, even if you haven't watched Star Trek, you've probably seen this scene somewhere, right? Sulu comes ripping out of the turbo lift, shirtless and all oiled up.
Yeah, he is, he is greasy.
Swinging his sword around.
Oh, my.
Okay, why is he so greasy? Oh, and he's like saying, what is he saying? He's saying Richelieu, which is from the Three Musketeers. Richelieu was the Cardinal Richelieu, which was like the antagonist. He was the evil person.
Okay.
And so I think Sulu is supposed to be D'Artagnan. And so that's what he keeps saying. He keeps like charging people with the sword and saying Richelieu, but he's dancing around the hallways shirtless. It's hilarious.
And he stops at the corner and he sticks his thumb on the tip of the sword like, oh, damn, now it's sharp.
Oh, it's sharp. Ooh.
You didn't know that when you were whipping it around, thrusting down the hallway?
Yeah, that made no sense, but it was funny.
And then around the corner, here come a couple crewmen, and Sulu launches at them, and he's chasing them off. And then he climbs up a ladder.
And he calls them cowards, and he laughs, and
So Kirk arrives back on the bridge, and he's got Uhura calling security to locate and confine Riley and Sulu, and anyone who's come in contact should be medically checked.
Yep.
Uhura gets a call about Sulu waving a sword around the hallways, and Spock's detecting a pattern. First, Tourmaline, hidden personality traits coming to the surface. Riley fancies himself a descendant of Irish kings, and now Sulu, the swashbuckler.
Yep.
So the pattern is emerging. Something rocks the ship. The planet's gravity is changing again.
Is this when they like actually fall? That looked actually real. I mean, I know sometimes when the ship shakes, it's not real and they just have to like act, but that looked like the freaking somebody fell over.
Have you seen, some people have done like the image stabilization on that, like that shot of because the practical effect there is, everybody throw yourself to the left or right or whatever, while the cameraman just kind of shakes the camera.
Right.
And if you stabilize the camera shaking, then you can see the ship stationary and everybody just kind of throw themselves over.
And I bet that looks ridiculous.
You can kind of undo that effect. Yeah.
Everybody go to the left. And I know that our viewers can't see us, but both Sarah and I,
we did.
We lurched to the left.
Oh God.
But
so Sulu shows up on the bridge. Kirk tells him to put the sword away, and he thrusts at Kirk. Kirk dodges, or perhaps we should say Kirk parries. It seems like Uhura tries to get his attention. Like Uhura's trying to be like, "Hey, Sulu, calm down, bro. It's okay. Everything's fine.
Give me the sword. Give me the sword.
It'll be all right."
This is hilarious to me. What happens next? That doesn't work, and he doesn't give her the sword. Instead, he pulls her into his arms, and he's like, "I'll protect you, fair maiden." And then she says, "Sorry, neither." And I'm like, I'm gonna use that. So Sulu's distracted for just a moment, though, and Kirk takes the sword away, and then Spock does that Vulcan neck pinch, which I think is the first time we've seen it.
I think so.
And he just pretty much lays him out. Sulu is out.
Yep. And I guess we'll break the fourth wall here because we record some of the questions ahead of time so, for the Starfleet Academy Cadet Challenge.
You're telling our magic.
I know, but when on the next one, when we say the Vulcan nerve pitch happens for the first time, then we're going to get letters. So, yep, we are aware the production order of the episodes and the release order is different. So depending on what order you watch the series in, this may or may not be the first Vulcan nerve pinch. Kirk tries to call engineering again, and Riley, now fancying himself the captain of the ship, answers, and he starts broadcasting nonsense to the whole ship.
He's like talking to the cook. He's like, he wants to order double portions of ice cream for the entire crew. And he starts singing his ancient Irish song, and he's horrible at it. I mean, it would be one thing if he could sing,
carry a tune,
but he can't. Kirk's trying to get out, can't get out the door because Riley's locked everything down, and then Uhura manages to do some magic on her console and get the door to the lift open so that Spock can try to get down there, because they have less than 20 minutes before they enter the planet atmosphere and burn up. So
now I'm sure this is entirely coincidence, but there just happens to be 26 minutes left in the episode.
Oh,
gosh, I hope we make it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Kirk is racing through the hallways down to engineering now, and Scotty's outside trying to figure out how to break back in. Inside engineering, Riley's singing his Irish tunes, and on the bridge, Uhura's getting calls that these incidents are now increasing throughout the ship, so more and more people have getting the schmutz.
They lost their goddamn minds.
And Spock orders a lockdown to try and contain the disease, which is what I think any good government should do.
Yeah.
Order a lockdown when you have a very highly communicable disease that's wrecking the...
If no one wants to do what they're supposed to do, and that's where there's people roaming the halls.
And the ship lurches again. Everybody falls over. McCoy calls up, and he can't find anything wrong with Sulu.
Right.
Riley breaks in now with a ship-wide communication, and he says, in the future, all female crew members will wear their hair loosely about their shoulders.
Fuck off. Yeah.
And use restraint in putting on your makeup, women. Women should not look made up.
And then, I know, right? Oh,
sexist shit.
Asshole.
But prevailing view of the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Scotty gets them enough power to stabilize, but they're still spiraling towards the planet. And Spock's on his way down to help Scotty, who's cutting through the bulkhead with a phaser.
He's cutting this shape in the wall. It's where it looks like the
like
Texas. Oh my God.
Absolutely.
I said that. We have not talked to each other about the show, but I was like, it looks like the shape of Texas.
Definitely looked like a cutout of Texas. Yes. Well, and the other thing, because I'm watching the remastered, so originally that shot was, he had the little hand phaser thing and was, torch cutting through the wall, but there wasn't anything coming out of it. It was just like a light lit up on the end. And then in the remaster, they went in and put in the phaser beam.
Nice.
So there's a little something for you.
Good job, guys.
Spock comes across a crazy crewman with a giant paintbrush who's painted "Love Mankind" on a wall.
He's laughing like hysterical laughing, and that was cracking me up.
And then Janice is trying to get on a turbo lift, but a crewman keeps blocking her. Poor Janice. She is always...
She's always getting sexually harassed. She's like the target.
Yep.
And so he's sexually harassing her. She's trying to get into the lift, and then so Spock happens upon them, and she's like, Spock. And then he tells the crewman, look, dude, just, back off, go back to whatever, go back to your duties. And then he's like, okay, sorry. As soon as Spock turns around, he's back to harassing her.
Mm-hmm. Spock arrives down at engineering and tells Scotty he's got to work faster, even if it compromises safety, because he's calculated that at the current rate of work speed that Scotty's doing, they're all going to die anyway.
Yeah.
McCoy leaves to go down to the biopsy lab, and Chapel's got the rattlesnake sweats.
That's what it's called. We call it the schmutz, the rattlesnake sweats. I love it.
And she lets down her hair, and Spock comes into sickbay, and Chapel grabs his hand and rattlesnakes him.
Mm-hmm.
And she's coming on to him now real hard.
Like I'm in love with you hard.
Yeah.
You know, she's always been in love with him, and I know you'd never hurt me.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
She talks a little bit about like how Vulcan men treat their women, but you're half human, right? So you wouldn't be that. You wouldn't be like that.
Yeah.
And she cuts him right where it hurts too. She's like, "I love you, Vulcan, and human, like both parts of you. I know you feel. You just hide it." And then she says, "We must really hurt you." There's a lot of lot of feeling going on in that scene.
Yeah.
It's real deep. And a lot of people ship Spock and Chapel. So this is another one of those scenes where you get, if we're, if the disease is limiting your inhibitions and the truth is sort of rising to the surface.
The true
here
self.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Riley is an egomaniac.
Yep.
Sulu is a swashbuckler, fun kind of guy. That one guy with the red paint brush in the hallway is just fucking nuts.
Yeah.
Tormlin was rest in peace.
Yes.
He was just tortured and So
he was dealing with some shit.
Yeah. So everybody's like hidden true selves are coming out with this.
So now Spock's got the sweaty palms, and he apologizes to Chapel. Meanwhile, Uhura's trying to call Spock on the radio to take over the bridge. Spock goes out in the hallway and starts crying.
Yeah. Poor thing. His emotions are coming out. He can't suppress them any longer. And so can you imagine suppressing all of your emotions for so long and then
like the floodgates open?
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
No, that's crazy.
So he does not answer Uhura.
And he kind of pulls his shit together enough to go on.
He tries, yeah.
Kirk arrives outside engineering with a security detail, phasers on stun. Scotty's torched through the wall now and opens the doors. What I liked about this, I made a note. In future Star Treks, there's a door override. In a panel.
Yeah.
Like you just pop open the panel and pull the thing.
You do not have to weld through the fucking wall.
So I think we've done some good, like there's some good technological advancements. Through those years. Security removes Riley very easily, and Scotty starts working to undo all the shit Riley did. Spock's in the hallway fighting back his emotions still, and he goes into the conference room and has a full-on meltdown.
Yeah.
Loses his shit, and he's trying to
everybody needs a good cry.
Yeah, I agree.
He needed it more than anyone, but he was like, I am in control of my emotions. And I think he started doing some math. That what that was?
He was reciting times tables or some shit, just to try to get some focus, to get control of something.
But everybody needs a good cry.
Yep, I agree. Kirk and Scotty have engineering back, but there's another problem. Riley turned the engines off.
They're cold. The engines are cold.
And it'll take 30 minutes to fire them back up. But we don't have 30 minutes.
They got 8 minutes at this point. They're going to die. They're spiraling towards this planet, and they got 8 minutes.
Kirk suggests to Scotty that they try to cause a controlled implosion with the engines. And there was some technobabble here that I kind of got mixed up on, what is this controlled implosion, and wouldn't that ruin the engines, or how does that how does that all work? Because you're mixing matter and antimatter, and those are when they come together, that's an explosive thing, so you have to do that very slowly, which is why we need all this time. But then also they did talk about it as if it's cold starting an engine that has to warm up for a little bit.
Yeah, it's not a car in the winter.
No. I was very confused with some of the explanation.
But they had to bring the drama. Oh, we can't get the engine started for 30 minutes, and then we've got 8 minutes to live.
Yep.
So
McCoy has isolated now the sweaty palm schmutz. So it transfers through perspiration and acts like alcohol in the bloodstream. And he's got an antidote ready to go, so he goes off to create more of this antidote serum. And another amazing scene here. Kirk finds Spock in the conference room. Spock is like, just everything is on the surface.
Yeah.
And he's like, I could never tell my mother I loved her, which is like cuts deep.
Heavy, and all the regrets, and just, yeah.
Kirk's trying to get through to him about having to do a full power restart on the engines.
It's never been done before.
Spock's not there. He's too far gone.
Yeah.
So Kirk,
his logic is gone.
Kirk like smacks him across the face.
Oh yeah, he does a share, like snap out of it, and he's totally.
And Spock says, Jim, when I feel friendship for you, I'm ashamed. Which
okay, oversharing Spock.
Right. I'm ashamed to be your friend. What?
I don't know what the fuck that meant.
No, and I don't.
Other than
if
he didn't want to feel anything.
Maybe. Yeah. Right. If I feel anything for you, I'm ashamed of the feelings, not the friendship.
Right.
Yeah, I think you're right there.
That's it. I'm guessing.
Kirk smacks him around some more, and then Spock slaps back and knocks Kirk clear across the table.
Now they're full-fledged fighting, and I'm like, dudes, get a hold of yourselves. Y'all are about to die.
So they're screaming at each other about whether this engine restart thing is even possible, and Kirk realizes he's got the sweaty palms now.
Yep.
And Kirk's rambling like a madman about his love for the ship, and his yo woman is pretty hot.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen her? Hello.
Yeah. And he's talking about the ship too.
Yeah.
As if it were a woman. And he's like, all she does is take and I give. And I'm like, dude. And then of course he talks about Janice as well. And he manages to pull himself together. They both do. And because he does love the ship, that is probably what
pulls him out.
Yeah.
So Kirk gets in the turbo lift, headed to the bridge, and on the interior doors written in that red paint now.
I died laughing. Oh my God.
Sinner, repent.
Oh my goodness.
He steps out onto the bridge where it's very obvious that the ship is going down now. You can tell by the screen. We're crashing. And McCoy rips the shoulder of his shirt to administer a hypo spray.
Yeah.
Now, have they set a standard for this? Like, can they hypo through clothes or not?
Yes, you can. I mean, I've seen it.
Could.
I've seen it. Maybe they haven't done this yet on this early, but I know further on in other series that they just do it through the uniform. Through the uniform,
yeah,
or on the neck, for God's sake.
Yeah.
I mean, the neck is bare, so yeah. Maybe again for drama. Let's rip the shirt.
Right, of course.
We like that.
Anyway, Kirk's coming down from sweaty palms, and he gets a glimpse of Yo Woman Rand, and she's looking all fine. And he reaches out like he's going to touch her, but then gets control and pulls himself back.
Yeah.
Scotty and Spock are down in engineering, and I had to rewind here because I was sure that when they were in the conference room, Spock said that he would call in the intermix formula from the bridge.
Okay.
And I was right. So there's a little continuity hookup there. He was going to call it in, but then he went down to engineering instead of to the bridge.
Yep.
Spock's not pleased with the numbers, but they're out of time, so there's nothing else they can do, and they hit restart. We get a real cool jib shot here, too, like pulling out up above the bridge that I thought was really fun. Then they cut around for reaction shots all around the bridge. A lot of face acting in this scene. They're all
like,
they're all like looking intently at the monitor, like, oh no, yeah. And then Kirk lurches back in his chair, and the lights go dim. They've all got that Telosian headache now. We're still dealing with that damn headache. When the lights come back on, Spock returns to the bridge. They've solved the disease now, but with 3 minutes left in the episode, there's something else. Velocity gauge is off the scale. Engine power went off the scale too. So they're traveling faster than is possible for normal space. And now the ship's chronometer is running backwards.
Chronometer, a.k.a. clock.
Right. They've entered time warp. Let's do the time warp again.
Oh, I love this. I love that. I love that show.
So Sulu brings us to a full stop and the time reverse stops. And then Spock says the time warp put them back 71 hours in time.
Mm-hmm.
We have 3 days to live over again. And Spock says this opens up a whole world of possibilities. Since the implosion worked and caused this time regression, they could use it again sometime. So then why the hell did we have to slingshot around the sun in that movie when we went back for the whales?
I don't know.
We could have done.
They forgot about
this thing.
They forgot about this. But it's interesting you say slingshot around the sun, because I've watched other sci-fi shows where they use the sun and a solar flare to go back in time. I'm not sure. I'm like I don't know. Did they? And I'm sure they got that from Star Trek or something.
Maybe, yeah.
But I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Spock says that now we know a way to travel back through time.
But I'm also confused here. Okay, so if we went back in time 3 days, why didn't we go administer an antidote to the scientists, or were they already dead?
Yeah, it depends. We don't know how long they were dead.
But we could have at least gone back and still taken readings of the planet's collapse and just not beam down and do that whole thing over again. Instead, they were just like, wow, fuck all that. Next mission, please.
Yeah, right. I don't know. Time travel in any show that I've ever seen, it's always so tricky. And their explanation for when we start asking, well, why didn't this happen? Oh, well, time travel is just very complex.
Yeah, right.
And,
Yeah, no, I want to know why you didn't go back and eradicate the planet of this thing, or put a buoy outside that approaching ships don't come to this planet because of this disease thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Instead, they were just like, okay, next episode.
Yeah. The last thing Kirk says to Spock when he comments about now they know a way to travel back through time, and Kirk says, "We may risk it someday, Mr. Spock."
All right. So this episode, I really had to think about what themes I wanted to pull out, right? Like, so first, we sort of talked about like the parts of us that are inhibited, and when that's released and comes to the surface, how does that affect the way we interact with each other and who we become?
Yeah.
But then as we were talking, I went back to Tourmaline talking about how like maybe humans aren't supposed to be in space.
Yeah.
Like everywhere. What he doesn't say when he says, we're polluting and destroying everything we touch, basically.
Yeah, because that's what we did on Earth.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what he didn't say, was like, that's what we do best as humans. We fuck things up. That's what we do best, because we're selfish and so yeah, if we pollute and destroy this planet, then what are we going to do in space? More of that.
Yeah. Should we be out in space?
Yeah.
Knowing it's a really harsh environment. One slip could kill you, obviously. And we're just not the most careful. We just go barreling through space, not thinking about it, bumbling through. And like, why do we explore?
Right.
Like, that's a good, why do we explore? We always like wonder, is it just our curiosity?
Right.
That causes us to spend billions of dollars. I mean, I know that we've gotten a lot of technology out of the space program.
Right.
But
yeah,
I don't know. Why are we there?
And why, like, and when will we learn our lesson that like, let's not pollute and ruin everything we touch.
Yeah.
Right. And you're seeing this right now with the discussion and refusal to acknowledge the reality of climate change. Right. Where half this country is like, that's not real.
Meanwhile, the people in Florida and the Gulf are cleaning up an incredible mess made by Hurricane Ian.
Yep.
They've lost their homes. And so, wow.
Yeah.
But that reminded me of recently the asteroid that we landed on and exploded a $1 billion probe on.
Right.
And we won't even know if it's done any good for, I forget how long. Is it going to be like 6 months or a year or something like that? We don't even know. And I think the purpose of it was to try to alter its path.
Right. Eventually, and as has happened before, like there will be one that's coming right for us.
It's coming right for us! Kick-ass!
And that's a theme we see in Star Trek. There are a lot of episodes where there's one in particular in The Next Generation that I'm remembering of there's an asteroid coming to our planet and we don't have the technology to divert it or break it up or whatever.
Right.
Like it's going to destroy our planet and we're all going to die.
Right.
So that kind of topic comes up in sci-fi a lot.
Yeah. Well, Armageddon. I mean, that whole movie was about that.
Yep.
But,
and so we should be doing that kind of shit probably, like the, planetary defense or whatever.
Yeah.
Not Space Force whatever, right?
Yeah.
I'm a little more liberal socialist Star Trek than I am whatever the fuck that was.
So the whole time I was watching the live feed and I'm thinking to myself, we don't know what we're doing when we crash this thing on the asteroid to try to alter its path. What if we made it worse?
Right.
And so
we have decent math, right behind it. There's a lot of historical science that we if the object is traveling this way and we hit it from this side, it should move this way.
Right.
That kind of
sure.
At the basic level.
Yeah.
But we don't fucking know what we're doing.
Exactly. Like Spock's like, we've never done this before. Anytime they have to try some crazy maneuver and there's a 50-50 chance that it work or
but
it
I think
doesn't.
exploration is like having kids. Like if you wait until you're ready, you'll never go.
Yeah.
Right. Because we're never ready to have kids.
Right.
Like you may feel like you are, but you're never ready.
Yeah.
And I feel like, because the question then is, all right, well, if we're out in space polluting and destroying and doing shit that we don't know what the consequences are, maybe we shouldn't. Well, should we ever? Like, is there, because, we'll go back home until we develop ourselves to a more advanced state or whatever before we start space travel.
And
you just got to do it. Like, there's no good time.
Yeah.
Like,
and there's a lot of junk out. Speaking of pollution,
space junk. Yeah.
We've left so much junk out there.
It's what we do best.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
I assume you're loitering around here to learn what efficiency rating I plan to give your cadets.
Trainees, to the briefing room. Is that all you gotta say? What about my performance?
Aren't you dead?
I don't believe this was a fair test of my command abilities. There was no way to win.
There's no correct resolution. It's a test of character.
Now, what is that supposed to mean?
I am understandably curious.
May I ask you a question?
Who's been holding up the damn elevator?
All right, so let's bring Becca back now for the exciting answer to the question about this episode, The Naked Time.
Hi.
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 So remind everybody, what was the question for this episode?
What happens in this episode that interestingly never happens again the rest of the series?
And I believe we had no idea, other than like maybe this is the only time Sulu was shirtless.
Yeah. I'm trying to...
I don't know.
They paint on the walls. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen anyone paint on the walls.
All right, what's the answer?
I give up.
The three primary female characters, Uhura, Chapel, and Yeoman Rand, appear together. The characters did not appear together until the Star Trek motion picture in 1979.
What?
You mean on the same episode?
Like in the same scene?
Yeah, in the same scene.
Okay.
Whoa.
Which scene was it that they were all in?
Yeah, I don't remember now.
Oh, I don't know.
Because
I don't remember this.
I'm trying to remember. I don't remember Uhura and Nurse Chapel in the same room.
Yeah, I don't. I'm gonna have to go back and look now.
But I know
from now on, you need to bring time code stamps.
I'll do that. Sure.
But I know that like Yeoman Rand was on the bridge at the same time Uhura, but I don't remember Nurse
All right,
Chapel.
well, I'm going to trust you this time, but we're going to do some
if I'm wrong,
supplemental research,
I'll give it to you if I'm wrong.
Okay, good.
We'll let you know. We'll tell you.
I know you will.
Because I want one right, damn it.
You've got one.
Yeah, one.
Okay, so then our next episode is The Enemy Within. A transporter malfunction creates an evil Kirk. I don't know that I remember anything about this episode.
Maybe faintly.
Yeah, not really. Nothing's jumping out at me.
Yeah, nothing definitive.
Okay.
Oh, look at.
She got this.
She's got this.
She got this. I'm gonna get you look on her face. Yeah.
Shit eating. I'm gonna fuck you up with this question.
The question is. This is the first episode to show us Spock using the Vulcan nerve pinch. However, it was not in the original script for this episode. So my question to you is, how did this unscripted, now famous Vulcan signature move come into existence?
Oh, that's such a good question.
Damn.
You're so good at this. Look at and you're enjoying this so much.
I really am.
Oh, it had to be an accident. It was maybe an ad lib.
Was he supposed to karate chop somebody to the neck and fucked it up and did something else? Or no, they were just fucking around and he went and put his hand on somebody's shoulder and they went.
Yeah.
They went
I bet you. It was an accident or something.
What am I going to go with?
How did these things come up, happen? They're always usually organic or they're accidental. Maybe someone did get hurt by him doing something while they were filming and he's like, hey, we can use that. I don't know.
I'm going to go with it. He put his hand on someone's shoulder and they just dropped. And so then somebody was like, oh, hey, that's great. We should use that in the show.
And then I'm going to go with they were maybe fighting or doing something and he maybe actually accidentally hurt somebody. I hate feeling this clueless.
I know.
This is very uncomfortable.
I know. All right. So
see you next week.
All right. Well, join us next week for the exciting answer. And if you want to play along, you know how to do that. Head out to your favorite social media platform, not Truth Social. I'll tell you that. I'm not going to check that. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, those kinds of places. Tell us what you think the answer is. Try not to cheat. If you remember, great. If you get it right, we might not necessarily pick the person who gets it right. We might just pick the most fun answer. And you'll have the bragging rights. So put that message out on social media with the hashtag Starfleet Challenge. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, good luck. I would love to shake the hand of the person who gets this right.
And now it's time to honor the dead.
Dead, Jim.
We are assembled here today to pay final respects to our honored dead.
Do we count the scientists? We didn't talk about this during the episode. They were dead when we arrived at the planet. Do
I would
count?
say no. I don't typically count them if they've already, we found them dead. We found them that way.
Okay.
So I only count Joey Tormelin. Poor man. Rest in peace.
Once again, we don't get to see very much of you.
Yeah.
You were here and then you were gone.
You were tortured and you had some valid points, man. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you made us think.
Yeah. But rest in peace, crewman Tormelin.
Let's get right to business.
Fine, I'm authorized to pay an equitable price. Federation has invested a great deal of money in our training. They're about due for a small return.
Listen, we pay off percentages. We're entitled to a little services for our money, huh?
Is this the way your citizens do business? Their right of petition?
They pay their percentages and the boss takes care of them.
Is there anything else?
So now we'd like to thank our patrons, and a special announcement this week. We have a couple of new patrons to welcome aboard the Starship Humanist Trek.
Welcome aboard.
At the commander level, we have Devin. Welcome aboard, Devin.
Hey, Devin.
New commander. And at our top patron level, founding admiral, we have Russell.
Hey, Russell.
So Russell, welcome.
Thanks, Russell.
Yeah. So appreciate all of you who support the show financially. It's going a long way to support the production of the show. And also, we're looking at making like in-person visits at conventions and stuff in 2023.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to pay for booth space and travel and do all of that. So you're going to help us be able to get out and do some conventions and meet some people, and that's going to be fun.
Yeah.
More on that later. If you want to be like Russell and Devin, and you know you do, head on over to patreon.com/humanisttrek. Pledge as little as $3 a month, and it will really go a long way to helping us do this show and keep it going. Another thing that you can do if you want to support the show, one of the free ways to do that is to leave us a review wherever you listen to Humanist Trek. Preferably give us all the stars, of course. You want to give us all of the stars.
Yeah, we'll take them all.
Yeah. And then we'll pluck some of the reviews when they start coming in. We'll pull some of those out to talk about on the show or maybe feature on the website. So Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts, wherever you listen, you can rate and review, and we would very much appreciate you doing that. So next time on Humanist Trek, Season 1, Episode 6, The Enemy Within, a transporter malfunction creates an evil Kirk. What do you remember about this episode? Do you remember anything going in?
Not really.
I didn't either.
Not really.
I think I got confused. I think I confused some of this one with the Mirror Mirror episode where we do the mirror universe, like all of that, because it's like
I don't remember that one at all.
The good person and the evil copy of them, basically, or the evil, in the other universe, right?
Gotcha. I don't remember.
One is good and one is evil, and we revisit the
good and evil,
the alternate universe several times over the course of the many different series. But I think I was mixing these up together. I'm not really sure. I don't remember much about it.
I don't remember much about it at all.
But anyway, join us next week for The Enemy Within. Until then,
live long and prosper.
Kapla!
Humanist Trek is available wherever you replicate your podcasts. Follow us on all the social medias at Humanist Trek. Become a patron at patreon.com/humanisttrek. Open hailing frequencies to podcast@humanisttrek.com and visit our website, humanisttrek.com. Humanist Trek is a production of Sarah Austin Media.